It's Christmas Eve, and what better way to spread festive cheer than to look back over Worthing's first season in the National League South and review my own performance as Director of Moneyball. Greetings, my excellent friends, and welcome back to episode 9 of the Director of Moneyball. I'm Kirk Sheridan, and today I'm going to take you through a season review with a difference. It's been a brilliant year for Worthing, 6th place in the Vanarama National League South at the first time of asking. We've got every opportunity and every possibility to push for promotion next year. But this is a save with a difference. I'm not managing this club. I'm the Director of Moneyball. There are criteria I need to follow, and we're going to examine those together. But first, what did our fans think of the team's performances this year? Signing of the season, quite incredibly, went to Sam Allardyce. I am genuinely shocked. Look at Dinzey, 37 starts, 2 goals, 2 assists, a 7.35 average rating. I think he was the 3rd best player in the entire division. But no, Sam Allardyce, 18 starts and 13 substitute appearances, quite quickly become a fan favourite by the look of it. Samuel McLeod had already joined us when we took over the club, but Thomas Hughes was one of our signings, as was Tarek Hines, Jack Maidlin, Alfie Whittingham, Ryan Clark, Lamine Sheriff, Talent Ayite. We did a lot of business last year. Sadly though, right down at the bottom, Michael Falevi. Such a shame. Our FA Cup performance, we absolutely hammered Lewis 5-0 away from home, but then came unstuck against higher division Wealdstone. The FA Trophy, Bashley was our biggest victory of the season, biggest on record, I believe, at this point in the save, certainly. And we were unlucky to lose to Southend at that point. It was the first loss of Ben Watson's tenure. Goal of the season went to Lamine Sheriff versus Taunton. Miles Meekham's drilled the ball back to McLeod, passed it to Sheriff, one touch, and wallop into the bottom corner. Unbelievably, Michael Falevi was also our best shirt seller last year. Ollie Pearce, who scored over 30 goals for us, is not even on the list. This was the team of the year. Mail in goal. Tutt winning the battle of the terrible left-backs. Racine, Dinzey and Maidlin across the rest of the back four. Sheriff and McLeod holding with Miles Meekham's, Phillips, Lewis White and Ollie Pearce up front. Obviously the consistent team for most of the season. Although I do think that Whittingham and Hughes would have made it in had they played a few more games. So fans' player of the season did go to Jonathan Dinzey. He also won Young Player of the Season, which makes it even more strange that Sam Allardyce won Signing of the Season. Ollie Pearce, 33 goals for us. Miles Meekham's 10 assists. Pearce managed to score 24 goals in the league as well. 5 goals in a match. We have also increased our social media following by 27 followers. And for the season ahead, the board are expecting us to reach the playoffs once again. They also want us to work towards repairing the club's financial damage. Well, it's a good job that I'm all about Moneyball then. Still no team leaders as yet, but that might change over the course of the closed season and the pre-season. And we're going to let this squad know that we know now we can make the playoffs again next year. Enjoy your holiday, folks. When you return, there might be a few new faces in the dressing room. So that's how the team have performed this season, but what about me? I'm going to score myself out of 30 to see how well I've performed as both Director of Football and Director of Moneyball. You've been with me on this whole journey, so let me know if you agree or disagree with my own findings in the comments below. But I'm not going to pull any punches on myself, I can assure you of that. So first up, we have our 4 criteria as the Director of Football. No involvement in match tactics, no involvement in team selection, no involvement in training, and no involvement in team talks. A maximum of 3 points available for each of these areas for a total of 12. And let's start with match tactics. This is an area that I think I have been very true to the save this season. With Ben Watson and indeed with Dave Hedges before him, I've made sure that we're training both their preferred formations as our matchday tactics. And aside from that, I have not got involved. All season long, we've played that 4-2-3-1 DM AM wide formation, and that is all down to Dave and Ben. So 3 out of 3 in that particular area. Team selection, I've also been very consistent this year. And you can see that at a glance with the last 5 appearances made by Ollie Pearce. When he got injured back in March, he was playing as an advanced forward. When he got injured again later in March, he was playing as a winger. Then for his 3 substitute appearances, he came on as a pressing forward, a target forward and an inside forward. Complete inconsistency from Ben there, and definitely under no influence from me. However, there is one occasion earlier this year where I had to step in. Malachi Talent Ayite, who we know is one of our best players at the club in terms of current ability, was not getting enough game time. He still only started 6 matches, despite having one of the highest star ratings at the club. And it involved me forcing Ben to pick him to get him to start that many matches. So for steering clear of influencing team selection this year, I can only give myself 2 out of 3. And in all but 2 cases, I have resisted the urge to tinker with team training. I'm happy to continue letting Ben train Sammy McLeod as a central midfielder, despite the fact that we don't play with any. Same goes for Alfie Whittingham. No concerns there. But Conrad Honor and once again Malachi Talent Ayite did need a bit of a helping hand. Malachi, because of his natural preference for central midfield, will only get dedicated game time as a first choice for Ben if he becomes a natural in either defensive midfield or attacking midfield. So I have ordered Ben to start training him as a segundo volante. And Conrad has some of the highest potential ability of any player at the club and seems like a natural fit for that advanced playmaker role in the future. So again, I have pushed Ben to develop him in that way. And with that in mind, can't give myself maximum points. 2 out of 3 for team training. And for team talks, I've got to be brutally honest. I haven't got involved on match day, as you well know, but given how things were going earlier in the season, I did step in to hold team meetings, and I was praising individual players for their performance in training. Club atmosphere has stayed strong as a result of that decision, which I think is a fair call for the director of Moneyball to make, but I do feel that I overstepped the mark a tad with Ben, and I would like next season to make sure that he has more control over that team motivation. So 1 out of 3, which gives me a director of football performance total of 8 out of 12 for this season. Room to improve. I'm 2/3 of the way there. Next season, I will be better. And now, on to the 9 rules of Moneyball. 2 points available for each of these for a total potential performance score of 18. First up, of course, is promote youth ahead of transfers. And I was seriously restricted by this one because we didn't have any under 18s we could be playing until our first intake towards the end of this season. However, the previously mentioned Honor did only start 1 game in the National League South, despite currently being rated a Vanarama South player. Outside my control, but if we look at the depth of competition that's been facing him to get into the team, I signed Harry Phillips at the start of the season because I was worried about relying too much on Honor in that attacking midfield role. Later in the season, we signed Thomas Hughes. Lewis White was here and ready to play in that role from the very first day. And of course, Talent Ayite has played there a couple of times as well. So I was severely restricted due to that lack of an under-18 squad, but feel I let Conrad down a bit. So I can only give myself 1 out of 2 for developing youth this year. Rule 2, only buy players aged 20 to 25 with a decent data sample size. In the first season of a Moneyball save, it's very, very hard to be that precise about the data because there is no evidence built up by the game. I did the best that I could, though, by focusing on that 20 to 25 year age bracket. And I'm pleased to say that every single one of the 16 players I signed this year, from Bradley Webb back in July all the way through to Alfie Whittingham at the end of March, were firmly within that age range. So I will be strict on myself. I'm giving myself a 1 out of 2 for this. Age range, tick, but I was unable to follow the data criteria. Or next season will be a different beast entirely. And rule 3, sign players from outside the usual markets. We're talking about free transfers. We're talking about lower reputation leagues. Transfer listed players. Well, all of that massive box ticked. Even the players who we signed who were already on the books of another club, all came in for free. Bargain business. 2 out of 2, no question. And rule 4, improve defence before attack again. Top marks, no doubt about it. My first 4 signings were either defenders, goalkeepers or defensive midfielders. Harry Phillips I did push the boat out for as an attacking midfielder, but then my next 5 signings, once again, 4 of them, defenders or goalkeepers. No doubt at all that improving our defence came very much at the expense of improving our attack this year. Rule 5, improve the weakest area of your team first. Well, I've been trying all year, as I mentioned in the last episode, to upgrade this left-back position. I think I've finally succeeded with Jordan Norville-Williams, but you combine that with adding strength and depth to the centre of defence, adding quality to those defensive midfield roles. We were absolutely concentrating on raising our floor rather than increasing our ceiling. Rule 6, don't buy strikers unless absolutely necessary. Well, I was doing really well on this until March when Ollie Pearce got injured. I was already in the process of offloading Callum Keeley and Ibi Akanbi as we were running up to deadline day, and basically I panicked. Yes, I needed to sign a replacement. Michael Falevi or Martel Taylor-Crossdale probably would have sufficed on their own. Bringing the 2 of them in, probably I overstepped the mark a little bit, and neither of them have performed well enough, unfortunately, to stay with us next season, so I can only give myself a 1 out of 2 for that. I tried for the longest time. Oh, if I just hadn't panicked in March. Rule 7, sell players at their peak age. Well, I was trying so hard all season. It took until the end of March for us to finally move on Dan Bowery, despite me trying all year long. Joel Colburn was the only player we managed to sell for a fee. Jake Robinson, who is far beyond his peak, of course, is still on the books. So I tried, but I think failed to some degree. So 1 out of 2 in this particular area. If you've got any tips for me in terms of how I can improve my ability to actually sell these players, let me know in the comments. I would really appreciate the help. But rule 8, always be scouting for replacements. Yes, 1,000 times yes. You can see the number of recruitment focuses that we've been through this year. We've had an ongoing search, and we do have 130 players our scouts have reported back on, who are all aged 20 to 25 for us to look into over the closed season. Easily maximum points for this one. Last but not least, sell any player if a club offers more than their market value. I wasn't tested. We did make £1,500 on Joel Colburn, as I mentioned earlier, but that was the best it got. I'm hoping that I will have an opportunity in the near future to prove that I'm 100% committed to this rule of Moneyball. So if we strike off Rule 9 because I simply haven't had the ability to actually commit to that this year, 12 out of 16 for our Moneyball performance, 75%. And that gives an overall Director of Moneyball performance total of 20 out of 28, 71%. Which in some respects is really good, but I've still got 29% room for improvement. So my particular tasks for next year, promote those youth players. Make sure that we're looking at the data before completing transfers. Sell more players at their peak, and don't panic buy strikers. And now the long, hard summer begins. This is how our squad depth is looking for the players that we do have signed up for next year. No Harrison Mayle, no Lewis White, no Miles Meekums, no Cameron Tutt or Aaron Simpson, and no Aaron Racine, our club captain. It is currently the 9th of May, and the contract of all of those players I've just mentioned are due to expire at the end of this month. So I have about 3 weeks to decide who I'm keeping, who I'm letting go, and which of these 130 players we'll try to bring in for next season. Change of plan, we're back only a day later because I want to show you possibly the best piece of business that this club will ever be responsible for. Michael Falevi, who has performed terribly for us, unfortunately, in the 10 matches he's played for us, is on the verge of joining either Hampton and Richmond or Bath City for £2,500. I'm delighted that I offered him out. It's now the 1st of June and a lot has happened in the last 3 weeks. Sadly though, Falevi moving on for a fee is not one of the stories of the last 3 weeks. He refused contracts from a couple of clubs that were in for him, as did in fact Danny Barker and Cameron Tutt. But as you can see, all of those players now surplus to requirements, and I'm almost on the verge of setting them for release. I'm going to try offering them out one more time. We do have offers underway for Tutt, Barkett and Phillips. I'm hoping they will take the money and literally run out the door. We have, however, released Jake Robinson, who is now out of contract, along with Jesse Starkey and Charlie Towning. You can see there the transfer budget has increased a bit. That's because I dropped the scouting budget to concentrate on surrounding divisions, as with last season. True Moneyball focus, make sure that we're looking for bargains. Therefore, the National League, the National League North and South, and the Regional Premier divisions are absolutely a big enough pool for us to be fishing in. And those financial decisions, I think, have gone some way to helping repair the club's financial damage. As far as the board are concerned, we've done it a year ahead of time. Honestly, doesn't look that way to me, but who am I to judge? I've also caved in potentially a little bit early. I know we've got a month left before contracts were due to expire, but I didn't want to put us at risk of losing out on a profit for certain players. So Harrison Mayle, we have signed up for another year. He's taken a £75 a week pay cut in the process, so I think, given his value could stretch as high as £9,000, and there was interest in him last season, hopefully that's a good long-term decision for us. Still very much on the lookout for a long-term replacement, though, because I'm not confident in the fact that he's conceded 45 goals in the last season. Club captain Aaron Racine is another who's jumped on board for a second year, this time taking a £50 a week pay cut. I did feel that having his experience around will serve us well over the course of the season. And then two attacking midfielders. Miles Meekums, £325 a week, who doesn't have a huge amount of long-term potential, but his flexibility last year was very helpful. Lewis White we have offered a contract to, but we've already done that previously and he rejected it, so we will have to see how that one goes. And that means our squad depth looks a little bit like this. Mayle confirmed as current first-choice goalkeeper, Norville Williams in on the left, Dinzey, Maidlin, Racine and Allardyce in the middle, although Maidlin is likely to play right back. Maidlin, who has now signed up for 3 years. We did give Maidlin a wage rise. He went up from £275 a week, but in the process, we removed his £30,000 non-promotion release clause that suddenly activated. So what could have been a sticky situation has actually turned out for the better. 4 good options in defensive midfield. Hughes likely to make that attacking midfield role his own, but we are clearing the path for Conrad Honor to play more first-team football next season. Ray and Clark likely to pick up the position on the left as things stand, with Miles Meekums on the right and Ollie Pearce up front. So if Lewis White signs on, these are the gaps that I think are left. Right fullback, right wing, and I'm looking for that 6'5", 6'6" target forward. So I am looking forward to getting stuck into this scouting. We have a couple of months over the summer to improve the team further, potentially sell players for a profit along the way as well. So that will be the subject of the next episode, and we will probably play a couple of matches at the start of the season as well, just to see how this new look Worthing Football Club squad performs. I hope you have enjoyed today's episode. If you have, please drop a like on it, throw me a comment, let me know your thoughts, and of course subscribe to the channel and turn your notifications on to find out the second the next video drops. In the meantime, be excellent to each other. I'm Kirk Sheridan. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.